Hello, everyone. I'm Ashely Sellers, speech language pathologist and owner and operator of Speech, Language, and Beyond. I am coming to you today to discuss with you yes and no questions and why are they important. If you have been following me on social media, you will know that for the months of June and July, we will be focusing on reading skills. I truly believe that speech and reading go hand in hand. Now, why did I choose to talk about yes and no questions? Well, the book that we are reading for this week, Monday, June 22nd through Friday, June 24th, we are reading the book Do Cows Eat Cake? This book is surrounded around asking yes no questions in order to elicit a response from your child and to teach them more information. Now, you may be wondering, well, why still yes no questions? Because if you are the parent of a child, or you are the speech therapist of a child who's not yet using words consistently to communicate their needs and wants, and they are at the point where they really are getting frustrated and not being able to communicate, sometimes you can use yes and no questions to provide them with an immediate way to make choices, to lessen their frustration, and to give them an immediate way of communicating with you. And we will be discussing that further in the video. So let's proceed. As we move forward in this video, I want to take this time to talk to you about a company known as MedBridge. They are a continuing education company that provides continuing education resources for speech language pathologists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, and social workers, just to name a few. Well, I want you all to know at any time that I am bringing a video to you, I am bringing you information that is valid, that is relevant, and that is evidence-based. And every time I give you something in a video, you can bet your bottom dollar I have researched it, I have done a class on it. Even though I am an active speech language pathologist, I'm always brushing up on my skills so that I can better provide services to my parents and to any of my subscribers. And so, as you can see to the right of your screen here, in order for me to prepare for the video that I'm talking about today with the yes and no questions, I actually completed a course known as an overview of pediatric language disorders, because the fact that your child may be in a position right now where they're not necessarily using any words to communicate, and you are considering using yes no questions as a way to break that communication gap, that would actually fall under a language disorder. And I wanted to make sure that the background information that I was providing to you was valid. What I loved so much about this course was that the instructor was on the left side of the screen. The information she was talking about was to the right. She provided evidence-based articles. She provided evidence-based videos of recordings of the things that she was talking about. She also provided handouts and checklists that you could actually use outside of that video with your actual caseload to make sure that you had that information to also provide to parents. What I love even more is that they actually have a section in the portal once you get an account where you can find home exercises and patient education materials. Once you find the ones that fit your patient, you can add them to your account, and you can provide your patients with an access code without them having to have an actual account to go in and pull up this information to complete home exercises and to give them handouts that they can have for their own benefit, which is what you see here. And actually, to take this a bit further, I actually have two handouts that I found that fix perfectly with the information that I'm presenting to you here. So at the end of this video, if you want access to this information, then I encourage you to purchase the Yes No Questions activity cards that I have created that will also give you access to those handouts so that you can find them, okay? So if you're interested, I want you to look for the affiliate link In my description box below, it's going to be SLP Beyond. You can go to the link, put in that code, and if you want the education subscription, it will only cost you $95. With that subscription, you get CEUs, compliance training, live webinars, and a clinician mobile app. If you get the premium subscription, which is the one that I have, it'll be $145. It will include everything in the education subscription in addition to a home exercise builder, meaning that you can put in your own exercises for your parents or your children to use, patient education, and the patient mobile app where they can download the app on their phone in order to find the information that you're sending to them in the patient education area, or if there's a home exercise program. And so I really hope that you guys will take advantage of this. And so let's proceed further into our presentation. So moving forward with the topic at hand, yes, no questions, what are they? So first, let me start off by saying this. You have heard me say before, when it comes to building communication with your child, there are two basic skills that we are looking for. The first one is joint attention skills. That is pretty much when you are speaking to your child, are they looking you in your eye or looking anywhere in the direction of your face? When they are doing this, this lets us know that they are hearing what you say, processing what you say, and if they are hearing it correctly, then they will follow through appropriately on whatever it is that you're asking them to do. So if you're giving them, if you call their name and they stop and they look at you and you give them an instruction such as go get your shoe or go get your shirt, if they're looking at you and giving you sustained eye contact and they're able to follow through on that command appropriately, then you know that those joint attention skills are intact. Even the more if you ask them a question, you call their name, you ask them the question, and they give you the answer that is relevant or correct, then we assume that that skill is in place. What joint attention does, it builds them up to receive the information that you are giving them. It will build up their receptive language as far as them being able to identify actions and objects, or it'll build them up to be able to follow through on commands that you give them or to participate in appropriate conversation with you. The second half of that is the turn taking. If the joint attention is there and they're able to give you a response to what you say, then the conversation or the communication becomes a two-way thing, and those two things are necessary in order for your child to communicate. So I said all of that to say, when considering yes, no questions, one or both of these areas with the joint attention and the turn taking is impaired, and we want to build that up. So what yes, no questions do, they are questions specifically using speech therapy to provide children with an alternate way of communicating what they do or do not understand, need, or want. They help encourage your child to make choices. They help the child to indicate what they want or what they need, and it also establishes turn-taking skills for conversation, like I said before. And it's often used with children that are nonverbal, who have developmental delays, such as autism, or have autism, articulation difficulties, or a language disorder. Now, let me go on further to say, you still may have to build your child up to use yes, no questions. The two things that I feel that they really need to be able to do the most, they need to have strong receptive language skills. They should be identifying at least 5 to 10 objects. They should be able to follow at least 1 to 2 simple one-step commands, or even a few two-step commands, in order for them to build their way up to yes, no questions. Because if you say, do you want an apple, and that child has no clue what an apple is, can't point an apple out when it's on the table or in a picture book, then it's still going to defeat the purpose of being able to use the yes, no questions. But I have a strategy and some things I can show you to even get them to the point that they can build up to be able to use them. So let's keep going. So, what I love so much about Yes No Questions is that your child does not have to be a child that is actually using words right now. With Yes No Questions, you have flexibility in how the child is able to communicate yes and no to you. So, this is for children who are, you can still present Yes No Questions to children who are nonverbal, who have limited word use. So, nonverbal means that they're not using any words at all. Limited word use, meaning that they're using maybe less than 20 to 10 words to communicate with you, and they may not be at the point where they are combining words together to form sentences, and if they do, they're only doing it at a minimum. In articulation disorder, you would say, well, why was that? Because if you have a child who's very hard to understand and they get frustrated because you can't understand what they're saying because the sounds are coming out correctly, sometimes for them to get their needs met immediately and to prevent there being a breakdown, sometimes Yes No Questions can aid in that until the sound production can become more clear. And then fluency issues or stuttering. If you have a child who has difficulty being able to speak in a steady flow of speech without repeating the first sound or repeating words or without any type of extra gestures while talking, sometimes you can also present them with yes and no questions so that they can also get their immediate needs met as well. So where the flexibility comes in is that you can use different modes of communication. So for your nonverbal child, or your child who has limited word use, you can actually use yes, no cards. Train your child on the actual card. One will say yes, one will say no. The yes one may have a green circle, the no one may have a red circle, and you train them on those cards. And so when you ask them a question, do you want, do you need, or whatever that question may be, you can present those cards in front of them and have them either touch the card that gives the appropriate answer that they need, or to touch it with their fingers. So it provides a way for them to still communicate with you by pointing to those cards without necessarily using words. And you can also use yes, no buttons. They actually sell buttons, like a little buzzer button that you can touch that has yes and no. The setup is the same. The green button is for yes, the red button is for no, and you can have them touch those buttons to communicate with you what they need or what they don't need. You can even go as far as teaching them head nods. You can nod your head up and down for yes, and you can nod your head from side to side for no. But the key to all of this is still training them on how to do that. You can even go as far as signing the words yes and no. You can show them the sign for yes. You can show them the sign for no. I will put a description in the box for you to find these signs so that you can use them with your child. But what I love about it is if they cannot verbally say yes or no, these are other modes that you can use to teach it. Okay, so let's keep going. All right, and so before we proceed with the types of WH questions, I want to go back and stress your child's receptive language skills actually need to be strong. They need to know, what is it that I don't want? What is it that I don't need? What is it that I don't understand? If they don't have a basic understanding of nouns and verbs, or maybe even a few spatial or prepositional concepts, or even descriptive concepts, it can make it a little bit harder. And so you need to make sure that you're training them on those things as you present them with the yes and no questions. So there are two types of yes no questions. The first one are choice based, or they also may be called preference based. They allow for the child to make a choice by accepting or declining something being presented to them, such as food, toy, clothing, and feelings. And I will give you an example of that later on within the video. You also have the detail-based ones. These questions can also be called fact-based questions. They give details about an object or situation based on its identity, how it is used, or where it is found. But these need to be concrete based to start off with. All right, so For example, you could say one of those questions would be, do you wear a hat on your head? Okay. You would have to know something about a hat and where it goes in order for you to answer yes and no. But if you get into something like, what did you eat before dinner today, then they would have to understand the concept of before, and that takes that question somewhere else. So you want the detail based questions to be as concrete as possible. So here are some samples of yes no questions. So as you see here, this picture of the dog, and you ask your child, is this a dog? This is what we called a detail based question. It reinforces receptive language skills of identifying common objects. So your child would have to know exactly what a dog looks like. It has fur, it has four legs, it has a tail. They would have to know details about the dog in order for them to say yes or no, this is a dog. Or for example, are scissors used for cutting? This is another detailed based question that reinforces their receptive language skills and their understanding of object function. So first, they would have to know what scissors are and what they look like, which is the same information that you found in the question about a dog. You would have to know something about it. But then when it says, are scissors used for cutting? That talks about the function of that object. So they would have to know a little bit about how scissors are used in order for them to answer this question correctly. So you may ask yourself, well, why would I ask my child these types of yes no questions? Because if this is information that they don't know already, these yes no questions will highlight that and let you know what information you need to teach to them. All right, and let's go to the next one. Then you have those choice-based questions like, do you want milk? This encourages turn-taking and it fosters independence, because now instead of you just saying, I'm going to put this milk in front of you and either you can drink it or not drink it because I don't know what you want, you take that milk, you put it in front of them and you say, do you want milk? You give them that yes no card, you give them that yes no button, you present the yes no signs, and they get to show you which one represents their answer, and you will know whether or not to give them that. So even with your child that has an articulation disorder, if they're trying to say the word ball but it's coming out as something else, then you can go get that ball and say, do you want the ball? And they can tell you yes or no, or take you to the one that they do want if the ball is not it. So choice based puts them in a position to communicate with you and establish turn taking, so there isn't a breakdown in the communication, and it fosters that independence for them to say, I can make choices and let you know what matters to me and what doesn't. Okay. Because I don't want to leave you hanging, I want to provide you with different yes no activities that you could actually use with your child at home. There will be a link in the description box about each one of these activities so that you're able to find them. So right now, as I said, if you're looking for books, we're currently reading for this week, Do Cows Eat Cake? I love this book. I think that it's funny. I love it because it also sets them up to learn things about different animals. If you go to the back of the book, they review all the vocabulary. I believe they give meanings and everything. So this book gives a plethora of information. Can you drink a dinosaur? What do I love about this book? Because it was created by a speech language pathologist and it's presented to you in a book the same way that we will present it to you in a therapy session to help brush up on the skill of answering yes and no questions. So that's why I love this book. As far as apps, I use the Autism PDD Yes No Questions. I love it. The one I had actually came on a CD. You can upload it to your computer. You can download this app from Amazon as well. And it uses a bear called Buddy Bear. And it presents different scenarios where your child is able to answer yes or no, depending on the scenario that was presented. I think your kids would enjoy it. If they already know how to operate a tablet, you can really just put this in front of them and they will be good and ready to go. And last but not least, detail-based yes no activity cards, which is a activity that I recently created, and I want to tell you a little bit more about it. So the activity that I created is called Detailed Activity Cards for YesNo Questions, and it focuses on detailed-based yes/no questions. So initially, when I created this product, I initially just had the basic yes/no question to ask on the card. But then I said, okay, after taking the course that I told you about earlier, and considering my own background knowledge that I received about language in general, I wanted to ensure that the child's receptive language skills are strong, that when they go to answer the yes/no question, they have some background information that they can pull from about the object that they're being asked about. So this activity is split up into a level 1 and level 2. So level 1, they are stimulus cards. You're going to use these cards to stimulate your child's language by first, in this or on this card, it's going to tell you what the object is, where you can find it, how it is used. You're going to keep reviewing this as much as you think is needed until you feel that your child understands this information. So the first time you may pick up the card and say, look, this is an apple. An apple is a fruit. You can eat an apple. And you go through it over and over again. Once you go through apple, once you go through elephant, and you do the same thing, you can take those same cards, put them in front of them and say, okay, show me the one that we eat. Show me the one that is a fruit. Show me the one that we cut with. Show me the one that we drink out of. This will allow you to know if they are ready. With those stimulus cards being in front of them and them pointing to the right one, it will let you know if they're actually ready for level 2, which is the actual yes/no question. Is an apple a fruit? For them to point to yes or no, or tell you yes or no. So the stimulus card prepares them for the information that will be asked about in level 2 with the actual yes/no flashcard. So I hope that you find this product to be interesting and that you will consider purchasing it and using it along with the Do the Cows Eat Cake book. Like I told you before, because of the courses that I have taken, I found 2 handouts that I will make available to you through the purchase of this activity that will provide you with more of that background information that you need to understand why yes/no questions are important. So the first handout deals with what I was telling you about before, the joint attention skills, how making sure when you are requesting something from your child, or if your child is requesting something from you, that joint attention skills, by them looking you in the eye, is established so that communication can be established. And it also shows you how to build speech and language skills into your everyday life. There's a handout on that as well that I definitely think that you would enjoy. Guys, I thank God that when I first started doing videos, I was just using what I had. I'm at a position right now where I've been able to purchase clip art and digital papers and different types of fonts in order for my products to be more engaging, for my videos to be more engaging. And so on this page, I'm giving credits to these particular people from Teachers Pay Teachers and their information that have allowed me to bring the information to you. So if you are another SLP or a teacher or even a parent that creates or looking for information to help or different types of clip art to help create things for your students, please take advantage of these people. You can just, stop the clip here and put in that information in Teachers Pay Teachers. It will take you to their store, and I'm sure that you would enjoy the things that they provide. I just thank you guys so much for watching. Share and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.